My name is Nana. I was born in Paris. My life did not start with light or music. It started in a small, cold room. My mother worked as a washerwoman. My father drank too much. We never had enough to eat. I remember being hungry most days. When it rained, our roof leaked. I used to look at the big houses across the street and dream. I wanted to live like those people. I wanted to wear clean clothes and smile without fear. When I was very young, I liked to sing. I sang when I worked. I sang when I walked in the street. People laughed, but some said my voice was sweet. I dreamed of the theater. I thought, maybe one day I will stand on a stage and people will clap for me. It was a small dream, but it made my hard days easier. At 16, I worked in a laundry. My hands were always red and rough from the soap. The air was hot, and the smell of wet clothes filled the room. But every evening, I looked at the posters outside the theater near our street. I saw pictures of smiling women in beautiful dresses. They looked free. They looked happy. I wanted to be like them. One day, a man came to the laundry. His name was Auguste. He was kind and well-dressed. He looked at me in a way that made me feel noticed. He said I was pretty and had a nice smile. No one had ever said that before. He told me I could earn more if I sang in a small show near the market. I was shy, but he said he could help me. I did not know much about him, but I wanted to leave the laundry, so I said yes. My first time on stage was in a cheap hall. The air smelled of wine and smoke. People talked loudly, some laughed, some shouted. My heart beat fast. The music started, and I sang. At first, my voice shook. But then I saw a few people smile. A man clapped. Another called my name. For the first time, I felt alive. I was poor, but in that moment, I shone. After that night, I worked at the theater often. I sang, I danced, I smiled at the crowd. People started to know my name. Some called me the little star. I was happy, but also scared. The world was not kind to girls like me. Many men wanted to talk, to buy me gifts, to take me places. Some were kind, some were not. I wanted to be careful, but I also wanted a better life. I met many people in those days. Some were poor like me. Some were rich and came to watch the shows. The rich men liked to be close to the girls on stage. They gave flowers, jewelry, and money. Some girls became rich fast. Others disappeared. I did not understand everything then, but I knew I wanted to survive. I wanted to shine more than anyone. One night, I met a man named Fontaine. He was an actor. He was tall and charming. He told me I was special. I believed him. He said he would help me become famous. We spent a lot of time together. He took me to better theaters. He bought me dresses. I thought he loved me, and I loved him in my own way. But love in Paris was not simple. One day he was kind. The next day he shouted. I cried many nights, but I stayed. I thought love was meant to hurt a little. When the director of a new theater saw me, he asked if I wanted to act in his play. I was scared but said yes. I had never acted before. The play was called The Blonde Venus. I played a woman who was beautiful and strong. The story felt close to my own life. On the first night, the hall was full. The lights were bright, and my heart raced. When I stepped on stage, I forgot the hunger, the cold, and the sadness of my old life. I felt like the world was watching me. At first, people laughed. Some said I could not act. But when I sang my song, the whole hall was silent. Then they clapped and clapped. I saw people stand. Some shouted my name. My eyes filled with tears. That night, I became famous. I went home and looked in the mirror. I saw a different girl. I was not the poor washerwoman's daughter anymore. I was Nana. After that, my life changed fast. Men sent me flowers and gifts. They waited for me after every show. They wanted to talk, to invite me to dinners, to give me gold and clothes. I did not know what to say. I liked the attention. It made me feel strong. But inside, I still felt small. I smiled and said thank you, but I was afraid too. I did not want to go back to the cold room of my childhood. My mother came to see me one day. She cried when she saw me in my new dress. She said I looked beautiful but different. I told her I was happy, that I was doing well. But she looked at me sadly. She said, "Be careful, my child. Fame can take as much as it gives." I did not understand her words then. I thought she was just worried. I was young and proud. I thought I could handle anything. In the weeks that followed, newspapers wrote about me. Some called me the new star of Paris. Others called me a danger to men. I laughed when I read that. How could I be a danger? I only wanted to live, to shine, to be seen. But people love to talk. Some said I was lucky. Others said I used my beauty to get what I wanted. Maybe they were right. Maybe they were wrong. I did not think much about it. I only wanted to keep shining. But fame brings both light and shadow. After every show, I saw more eyes watching me. Some wanted to help me. Some wanted to use me. I learned to smile and stay quiet. I learned that kindness often had a price. I did not always understand the games people played, but I was learning fast. That was the beginning of my rise in Paris. From the small stage near the market to the grand theaters where nobles came to see me. I wore silk and pearls now. People whispered when I passed by. I told myself I was happy. I told myself I had everything I wanted. But sometimes, at night, I looked at the stars from my window and felt something heavy inside. I could not name it then. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was sadness. Or maybe I already knew that light never stays forever. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. After my first success, my life in Paris changed completely. I moved into a better room. I had a mirror, a soft bed, and a small table with flowers. I bought new clothes. People began to treat me like someone important. When I walked on the street, men looked at me. Women whispered my name. I liked it. I felt powerful, but also a little lonely. I told myself that I was finally happy, that I had escaped the life I hated. Every night I went to the theater. The lights, the smell of perfume, and the noise of people filled my heart with energy. When I walked onto the stage, I forgot everything else. I smiled, sang, and danced. People shouted my name again and again. They threw flowers. I bowed and smiled, but sometimes when the curtain closed, I felt tired and empty. I would sit in my dressing room and stare at my face in the mirror. The paint and powder made me look beautiful, but when I wiped it away, I saw the same girl from the laundry. Many men came to visit me after the show. They brought flowers, gold, and even small animals. One gave me a white dog. Another bought me a carriage. They all said the same thing, that they loved me. I smiled and said thank you, but I did not believe them. I had learned that love in Paris often meant money and gifts. Still, I liked the attention. I liked feeling wanted. One man, Count Muffet, came every week. He was rich and serious. He had a wife and a family, but he said he had never met anyone like me. At first I laughed at him. He looked too proper, too old for my world. But he was kind, and his eyes were sad. I saw how much he needed me, and slowly I started to care. He gave me jewels, clothes, and even a house. Everyone talked about it. Some people said I was lucky. Others said I was a sinner. I stopped listening. I told myself I was just living my life. In my new house, I had soft carpets and tall mirrors. I threw big dinners. Famous men came, actors, officers, and even politicians. They all wanted to sit near me, to make me laugh. I felt like a queen. Sometimes I would stand at the window and look down at the street. I would see poor women walking fast in the rain, carrying baskets or crying children. I remembered my own mother and how we used to live. For a short moment, my heart felt heavy. Then I turned away and told myself I was not that girl anymore. But money and fame come with problems. Some of the men who gave me gifts wanted more from me. They wanted my time, my love, my body, my soul. I could not give all that to everyone. When I said no, they became angry. Some called me cruel. Others tried to hurt my name. The newspapers started to write strange things about me. One said, "Nana has broken another man's heart." Another said, "She brings bad luck to every man she touches." At first I did not care. Later those words began to follow me everywhere. Fontaine, the actor I once loved, came back one night. He was poor now and wanted help. I gave him some money, but he wanted more. He was angry that I had become famous. He said I had forgotten him. I told him that I had to think of myself. He shouted, and I cried. I wanted to be kind, but I was tired of people who only came to take. Count Muffet became jealous. He said he loved me, but his love felt heavy. He followed me, watched me, asked questions about every man I spoke to. I tried to make him understand that he could not own me, but he didn't listen. He said I was his light, his only joy. I started to feel trapped. The more he loved me, the more I wanted to run away. At the theater, people still cheered for me. I still looked beautiful under the lights, but I was different now. I had everything I wanted, yet I felt less and less free. I had golden clothes, but I missed peace. Sometimes when I took off my dress at night, I felt tired, as if all the light around me was too heavy to carry. I looked at my face and thought, who am I now? My mother died during this time. I went to see her a few days before it happened. She lived in a small, quiet room. When she saw me, she smiled weakly. She said, "You look tired, my child." I told her I was fine, that I had a big house and many friends. She touched my hand and said softly, "Be careful, Nana. The world loves you now, but it can turn away very fast." I wanted to answer, but my throat felt tight. When she died, I cried alone. I did not go to the funeral because the newspapers were watching. I stayed home and drank wine until I fell asleep. After that, things began to change. People still came to my parties, but I noticed their smiles looked different. Some came only for gossip. Others wanted to see if I would fall. I started to spend more money than I had. I bought more clothes, more jewels, and gave gifts to everyone. I told myself I was happy, but I was only trying to fill a space inside me that nothing could fill. One day, Count Muffet's wife came to my house. She was calm and beautiful. She looked at me with cold eyes. She said, "You have taken everything from me. My husband, my peace, my home. I tried to speak, but no words came. She left quietly, and I sat alone, feeling small for the first time in years. That night, I looked at the lights of Paris from my window. The city looked so big and far away. I wondered if anyone truly loved me, or if they only loved the idea of Nana. Soon after, I started to lose things. The theater changed its stars. A new girl came, younger and fresher. People talked about her like they once talked about me. My shows became less full. My dresses felt heavier. The men who had followed me began to disappear one by one. I still had a few who stayed, but I could see the end coming. I tried to laugh and dance as before, but it did not feel real anymore. Sometimes I went out at night and walked alone by the river. The air was cold and the water was dark. I watched my reflection move in the water. It looked soft and broken. I whispered to myself, I wanted to shine. Then I laughed a little and said, maybe I shone too much. Still, I did not stop. I could not. I was Nana. I had to smile. I had to keep living like a star, even when the light around me started to fade. I told myself things would be better again, that people would remember me, that the world could not forget Nana. But deep inside, I felt the truth coming closer. That truth would arrive soon, in my last act. In my final days in Paris. The last years of my life passed like a slow song that lost its sound at the end. I was not the same Nana that Paris once loved. My name was still known, but not with the same light. People spoke about me with pity now. Some laughed. Others whispered that I had wasted my beauty. I tried not to listen, but the words hurt. I moved from the big house to a smaller one near Montmartre. The carpets were old, the walls were thin, and the air was cold in winter. My dresses hung in the corner, still bright but never worn. I sold many of my jewels to pay for food and rent. Some nights, I still went out to the theater. I watched other girls dance and sing, young girls with faces full of hope. I wanted to smile for them, but my heart felt heavy. I saw myself in them. They were me, years ago. Men still came sometimes. They spoke of the old days, of the girl who once made the city dream. But they did not stay long. Some offered help, but I said no. I was proud, maybe too proud. I told myself that I had lived like a queen, and if I had to fall, I would fall alone. One winter, I became sick. The doctor said it was nothing at first, just a fever. But it did not stop. My body felt weak, my hands cold. I could not sing anymore. My voice, which had once filled big halls, was now only a whisper. The world outside went on as always. The theaters stayed full. The lights of Paris still shone, but not for me. Count Muffet came to see me once more. He looked older and tired. His eyes still held the same sadness. He sat beside my bed and said softly, "You changed me, Nana. You destroyed me, but I cannot hate you." I looked at him and tried to smile. I said, "We both lost count. You wanted love, and I wanted light. Maybe we asked for too much." He took my hand for a moment, then left. I never saw him again. As my sickness grew, I spent most days by the window. I liked to watch the streets below. Children ran and laughed. Women carried bread and flowers. The sky changed from blue to gray and back again. Sometimes when the sun touched the rooftops, I thought about my mother's words, that fame gives and takes. I finally understood what she meant. I had been loved by many, but I had not learned how to love myself. One night, I dreamed about the theater. I was on stage again, wearing a white dress. The hall was full, the lights warm. I sang my song, the one from The Blonde Venus. The crowd clapped and called my name. For a moment I felt young again. But when I looked closer, the faces in the crowd began to fade. I woke up with tears on my cheeks. A few weeks later, the war came. Paris was filled with fear.